Today on the show, we will be discussing the best settings and controller settings for Red Dead Online and Red Dead Redemption 2. Lots of players have asked me what my settings are, how I play Red Dead, and what my graphics are like, and also what Nvidia filters I use. While I have made a settings video in the past, that was almost 2 years ago, and a lot has changed since then. Since then, I switched my aim settings quite a bit, and Red Dead Online released on PC, which also brought better graphics and other controls that I would like to share with you today. We're going to go over all my settings in this video, starting with controls and controller settings that I personally think will make a huge difference and greatly enhance your Red Dead experience. And if you're looking for a specific part, I will have each section of the video labeled with its corresponding timestamp so you can jump right into it. So if you enjoyed this video at any point, or if you just find it helpful, let me know by dropping a like on this video. And if you'd like to stay up to date and in the loop with everything Red Dead Redemption 2 and Red Dead Online, consider hitting that subscribe button with your bell notifications turned on. So first, you're going to go over to the pause menu, go to settings, then go to controls, and we're going to start off on the controller, of course. Invert look, unless, maybe you're an old school gamer, this is how I used to play like GoldenEye on the PS2, for example, where the game had inverted look. I have that off. Obviously, when you push up on the thumbstick, you want to be able to look up as well, for example. Right now, I play with no vibration, and there's a reason for that. I prefer just having no vibration. That's how I play Battlefield and Call of Duty when I play with a controller. I don't like having vibration because if you have controller vibration, it could mess up your aim when you're trying to be very pinpoint accurate, and that comes into play with the next few settings we're going to be talking about. But if you are someone who uses auto aim in this game, you don't necessarily have to worry about being super accurate because the game is going to lock onto an enemy for you, so you're going to have much less of a chance that you're going to be missing your shots. And also, if you have vibration off, you won't get those controller vibrations when you're searching for treasure or collectibles, for example. So controller vibration does come in handy for that, and if you don't have a lay of the land and a lay of the map, then you may miss collectibles, you may miss treasures, unless you don't know the spawns or something like that. But personally, I like to have it off. But for most people, I would say you're better off having controller vibration set to on. Use cycle camera control for photo mode. I just have that set off. Doesn't really come to play with how I play. Targeting and weapons, this is where the important stuff comes into play. Me personally, I have now switched to free aim, and that is the biggest difference from the last time I made this video, which was at the beginning of October in 2019, a couple weeks after the Red Dead Online Frontier Pursuits update released, when I made my previous best controller settings, because now I have a ton of different controller settings, so we can talk about those changes and why I switched. I switched in March of 2020 to free aim to, one, take advantage of the free aim XP bonus, where you get 20 extra XP per kill on animals, NPCs, players, etc. And also, I think it just makes the game a little bit more entertaining. You get to savor gunfights. The game is very easy when you're going on, say, for example, wide, normal, or narrow lock-on. You just lock on center mass, flick up to the head with paint of black, and you get an easy headshot. With free aim, it still is pretty easy to be accurate if you're good at this game and you just play a lot and you're used to playing games. But free aim allows you to savor those gunfights easier, they last for longer, and it just, I think, enhances your gameplay experience. And if you're bored of playing Red Dead Online, try switching to free aim and see how it is. But with that being said, I do keep aim assist strength on foot to the max, both on foot, free aim on horseback, and aim assist strength on your mount and vehicle at full, and there's a reason for that. It's going to be tough to show it off because I'm on the top of the mountain right now above Valentine, but when you have free aim, you're obviously, like, say if an enemy is standing right here on the edge of this cliff, free aim, you won't aim, be looking here and aim and lock onto the enemy right away. That's what the auto aim does. The auto lock on flicks your aim right on to whatever you're aiming at. But the aim assist allows you, so say if you're already ADIOS and you're aiming down your sights and you're just moving left and right, and that enemy is still here at the edge of the cliff, if there was an enemy there, my aim would slow down briefly over them and keep going. So it allows you to kind of have a stickiness to your aim so that you can be more accurate. Even though you're in free aim, you just don't get that crazy cheap lock on, which is almost like an aimbot, essentially. So that's why I have the aim assist strength on, because it does come in handy, especially when you're on free aim. You're going to be running into a lot more trouble with the weapon sway whenever you're shooting and enemies are shooting back at you and suppressing you. Your screen's going to sway basically back and forth like a figure eight. And, it's not this dramatic. This is just for an exaggeration, but this is kind of how the weapon sway works in game. And so when you have that aim assist, it's going to allow you to fight against that weapon sway and stay on target a lot better and a lot easier than you would before. Automatic pin switching, this comes into play with the LeMat revolver. I don't want to switch to the shotgun ammo when I'm out of ammo with the normal revolver, so I just have it set to off. But if you're looking for that, this is where you can change it. It's basically like a secret setting for one weapon here in game. Now, the next major part of this best controls video is the third-person controls, basically just for having movement on foot. Third-person controls, set it to standard FPS. I wouldn't recommend, there's a whole bunch of options depending on how you like to play, but most people are going to fall in line between standard FPS and then also just standard. Standard is the classic Rockstar Games experience where you click in L3, left thumbstick, and you're going to crouch in this game, and you're going to be running using the X button on PlayStation or A on Xbox. You're going to be mashing that button just like you would be running on horseback. And what that means is your right thumb isn't going to be freed up to aim around. And when you do aim, you're not going to be moving as fast, right? You can't necessarily look around and run unless you play claw, or you take your thumb off of the other thumbstick and you use your left hand to control both thumbsticks, which is just kind of weird, right? So you want to set it to standard FPS because what that's going to do is allow you to switch those controls. And your X button is going to be crouch, whereas your L3 button or your L3 thumbstick is going to be sprint. But that's not all. You need to make sure you change this to standard FPS, and I'm going to jump down here real quick because this comes into play with the third-person controls. First person as well, standard FPS. But then you're going to go down and make sure you set running mode to on foot only to toggle to run, because if you keep it on hold to run, it's not going to work. You need to hold in the left thumbstick the whole time. What you're going to want to do is set it to toggle to run, so that way when you are running around on the map, you only need to click L3 in once and you're jogging or running essentially, and then you click it in a second time and you're sprinting. And that means, if you're coming out of ADIOS, you click it twice, boom, you're good to go. Just come out of a dive, click it twice and you're going to be sprinting, etc. So you want to make sure, if you're changing to standard FPS controls for both third person and first person, make sure you have it set to toggle to run. But just jumping back in, horse control, horse relative, horse control while aiming, I have them both set to horse relative. I don't want them to be camera relative. I want my horse to always be going in a certain direction and my camera to reorient around that. Look sensitivity and aim sensitivity, and also aim look acceleration, both of the sensitivities are maxed out. That means I can look around super fast at its highest sensitivity. This is look sensitivity, and aiming sensitivity is also at its max as well. And as you can see, even though it's max, this is still kind of low in the grand scheme of things. I play on 20 sensitivity in Call of Duty, for example. That's max sense, so it's definitely an adjustment going back and forth between those two games. But again, this is a third-person game, so probably having a lower overall sensitivity is why Rockstar limited it, even though you have it set to max here. Aim look acceleration, all that means is the time it takes for you when you aim and you start moving your stick to aim. Is the acceleration 100% right away, or is there a buildup where it goes like this, then it gets a little bit faster, and then you're going to max? Now, I would recommend you just have it set to 100% at max right away, so that whenever you're aiming, it's just the same speed. There's no extra steps to have the aim speed up or anything like that. Aim look dead zone, if your thumbsticks are, if they have dust in them or they're dirty or you have stick drift, you may want to increase the dead zone here depending on what happens with your controller. For me, I don't really have too much dead zone, but I do want to just bump it up one notch because sometimes I slightly see my character spinning around if I leave the controller on the desk unattended. Again, toggle to run, tap assist, I have it set to hold right now, but I may just go back to off. In my previous video I had it as off. Right now I have it as hold because it just makes it an easier function to get out of, lassos if you're hogtied or something like that. Tap to hold delay, adjust the time that the game will take to distinguish a button tap from a button hold. Set that at the absolute minimum because it's just going to take more time if you have this bar increase. And then hold to reel for fishing. I have this set to off. I know some players may find that the PC controls with controller are buggy when they're fishing, but for me, I just prefer spinning the thumbstick around in a circle so that I can reel in the fish faster and easier that way, because you're also pulling up on the fishing rod to basically yank the fish out of the water faster. So that's what I noticed, and that's what I prefer playing this game like. Now, this is a question I've gotten asked a lot, especially since the PC release of Red Dead Online. Now that I'm on PC, I want to take a segment of this video to go over my graphics settings. This is, I think, very important for a lot of players. I'm going to change this. I recommend you just go full screen because you're going to run into a lot of stuttering issues with this game if you're not in full screen, but sometimes I hit the Windows key, we back out of it. I have an Acer Predator 27-inch 1440p monitor, so I play on 1440p resolution. My refresh rate of the monitor is 144 FPS. VSync I keep on. I'm never going to get more than 144 frames, but I keep it on just to, minimize screen tearing if there are any. Triple buffering, I have it set to off. Pause game on focus loss set to off. Constrained mouse pointer set to off. Now, this These are the graphics that we're going to be talking about, and I'm just going to go through them. As you can see, what I would recommend here is I would almost copy these to a T. They're basically like a best optimized general types of settings. Depending on what your build is of your computer, you can almost copy these settings to a T. Maybe what I would recommend is bump each of them down. So if you're at ultra for texture quality like I am, you could bump it to high, etc. Again, it depends on your graphics card. I use the 2080 Super, and I was getting just under 100 FPS with these settings. There's a few things that I just bumped up now that I'm using a 3080 RTX 3080 in my gaming PC. So I bumped a few settings up, which I will talk about, but you could basically copy these settings because I will let you know what those were. And if you want, if you have something less than like a 2080 series card or a 20 series card, you know, if you have a 1080 Ti or even like a 900 series GTX graphics card from Nvidia, then I would just bump everything down one notch for each setting. But going into it, texture quality, ultra, X16 anisotropic filtering, medium for lighting quality, global illumination quality set to high, shadow quality high, far shadow quality high, screen space ambient occlusion ultra, reflection quality medium, mirror quality ultra, water quality we have it set to custom because we changed a few things. Same with the volumetrics, particle quality set to ultra, tessellation quality ultra. Right now I'm not using Nvidia DLSS because of a few reasons. I'm noticing I'm still getting stutters when I use this, but if you set it to, say if you're on 1440p, set it to quality. I would love to use it, but there's a few other issues I'm running into, like my character's hair and my horse's manes are very pixelated, and me personally, I'm very picky about that. I don't like the look of it, but if you turn on DLSS, you're gonna get up to like 45% extra performance, all on ultra settings. So for most people, I would recommend, if you do have an RTX card, turn DLSS on. We have TAA set to high, FXAA off, MSAA off. Brightness calibration is not going to be the same on your monitor most likely, so I'm not going to go over it. Advanced settings, set it to unlocked. User graphics API is DX12. I used to use Vulkan, but I was getting a lot more stutter, so I changed it to DX12, and I get a lot less stutters in this game. Near volumetric resolution set to low. Far volumetric set to resolution medium. Volumetric lighting quality high, unlocked volumetric ray mark resolution on, particle lighting quality medium, soft shadows high, grass shadows high, long shadows on, full resolution screen space ambient occlusion off, water refraction quality medium, water reflection quality medium, water physics right in the middle, so bar 2 if you're going left to right, 1, 2 notches, resolution scale set to off, TAA sharpening, you could see it right here, it is, if you compare it to the water physics, we're 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 from where water physics is to the left. Motion blur set to off. Reflection MSAA times 2. Geometry level of detail, we have it max. Same with the grass level of detail. When I used to use the 2080 Super, I had this at 3 out of 5 bars, and grass level of detail, I had it set to 4 out of 10, like this. But now I have it bumped up all the way now that I'm on a 3080 series card. Tree quality ultra, parallax occlusion mapping quality ultra, decal quality ultra, fur quality on high, it doesn't go to ultra, and tree tessellation set to off, which controls the tessellation on the tree trunks. I notice I just lose frames and it doesn't make much of a difference. It doesn't enhance my experience or anything like that. And now that it's daytime, we're going to talk about one of the last few things, which are the Nvidia filters, which I just started to mess around with recently, and these are the settings that I would use if I were to use the filters. Personally, I haven't used them yet because I haven't like perfectly made it how I like, but this is probably how I would recommend you run the game right here. This is the difference. This is what it looks like normally. Let's face the sun, and then we'll face the sun now with the filters on. I think it just enhances everything. It's not totally obnoxious colors, but it does make everything more vibrant, more saturated, brighter, with just a slight bit extra contrast. So I have 3 filters: sharpen, color, and brightness and contrast. In the sharpen category, intensity of 5%, ignore film grain 0% because I have film grain turned off in this game anyway, and there's really no film grain to begin with. Under the color settings, I changed the tint color 0, tint intensity 0%, temperature 0, but the vibrance was cranked up to 30. Then, finally, for brightness and contrast, we have a few different things. Exposure on 0, contrast on 14, highlights on 0, shadows 22% less, and then also 10% increase on gamma, because that's going to make the world brighter at night, so you're not going to run into these huge dark corners, you know, if you're under trees at night and there's no moonlight or anything like that. Because a lot of complaints that I get on stream from players playing the game and just in general in my YouTube comments is players saying that this game is super dark and they have trouble seeing sometimes. So besides just going to your settings and going to the brightness calibration here to change that, I would recommend, if you have an Nvidia graphics card or basically a 2080 series card or 20 series card, card. Mess around with the filters. You are going to get a few less frames, but then you can counteract that with Nvidia DLSS as well. And if you're going to do that, that's going to increase the sharpening. So I would take off the sharpen Nvidia filter here so you don't accidentally over sharpen your game. Again, this is, I don't think, the absolute best. I'm probably going to still modify it from here on out a little bit, but I haven't decided on like the perfect settings. I haven't played around with it too much, but right now this makes the game a lot better looking in my experience. It enhances the game, but it doesn't make it super obnoxious, I don't think, to play for, you know, super long periods of time, because it's very easy to overdo, right? If you go to color and you put vibrancy on max, you're gonna see, now see, that looks ridiculous. Arthur's orange, you know, this just looks crazy. You'd never want to see a game like this. Maybe I would color grade it like this for a YouTube video, so it's a little more pleasant to watch for a few minutes, but for an actual gameplay experience, I would not necessarily like that at all. But I'd keep it on 30. I think that's, you know, about as good as you want to go, but I'm going to set it back to off because I prefer not having any filters on at the current moment in time, just because I want to adjust those other ones a little bit more. So with all that said, I think we'll wrap things up right here. No need to take up any more of your time. Hopefully you all enjoyed the video today, and if you did, hopefully I earned your like on it. And of course, if you are new to my channel and you want to stay up to date with all the best Red Dead Online and Rockstar Games content, consider hitting that subscribe button so you don't miss out on a single thing we upload here on the channel. We consistently talk about updates, news, information, tips, tricks, and even leaks, and we'll keep you guys updated here on the channel daily, so make sure you hit that subscribe button. If you want to follow me over on Twitch, Twitter, and Instagram, those are the best places to get connected with me outside of YouTube, and you're more than welcome to ask me any questions on there. You can follow me at HazardousHDTV, and all of my social media links can be found in the description down below. With that being said, thank you all so much for watching, everyone. Hope you all have a fantastic day, and I will see you guys in the next Red Dead Online video. Adios, amigos.